What key advice would you give to the younger generation wanting to start a family?
My advice regarding starting a family is start immediately.
Okay, cool. There are other factors involved for people who, aren't billionaires, but that was what Elon Musk was advising Gen Z individuals at this event to do. Even if you don't have the resources, just start having kids. He's got 11 of them and everything's worked out fine for Elon. So why don't you just do it? All right, let's be fair and play his statements with more context. Let's watch.
Start immediately. Yeah. I think people worry too much about having kids, and sometimes it's difficult to make ends meet and whatnot. But honestly, there's really no time like the present. Just have kids. You won't be sorry. It'll work out.
It will work out if you are worth $242 billion, which Elon Musk is. So, look, do I think it's like the end of your life if you have kids before you're financially ready? No. And a lot of people do that, but they struggle and it's really difficult. And it's in a country that doesn't really have a proper support system that's family friendly. Let's put it that way. If you need to work, if you can't afford childcare, you're screwed. It's incredibly expensive. And I'm going to get to some numbers in a second. But before I get to the statistics and the numbers and the data, let's talk to a real world father, okay? His name is John Idarola. We brought on an expert. Tell us what it's like to be a dad. And what would it be like if you weren't financially prepared for this?
I can now say it's actually as simple as he says. Just do it. Don't think about it. There will be no consequences. And maybe you struggle to make ends meet or something, which is a thing that I read about. I've never experienced it or ever known anyone who did, but it can't be that bad. It's all, I hate him so much. I hate how stupid he actually is. And I hate how he plays even stupider than he is. I hate both of those things. He was born into a wealthy family, just like Donald Trump. He's never had to struggle ever in his life. Don't take any advice from him about literally anything. Least of all families, by the way, and not just for the monetary thing. His strategy for families is just, pressure women at the various corporations you control into being in relationships with you. Some of them will want to, and maybe you'll have kids with them. Others will sue you for sexual harassment, and maybe you'll have to offer a horse for a handy in a plane or something. But don't worry, you can get a lot of them to sign NDAs and have a bunch of kids. That way, when you drive some of them out of your family with your utter intolerance towards their identity, it's fine. You've got a whole bunch of backup kids. Totally healthy way to live your life in all regards, no notes.
I agree with pretty much everything you said with one exception. I don't think he's stupid. I don't think Elon Musk is stupid. I think he's afflicted with what a lot of wealthy people are afflicted with, which is detachment from real life and real people. Because yeah, it is easy to look at starting a family or having kids when you have all the resources in the world to support you in that endeavor. And it's so hard to be a parent in America. And I really do commend people who are willing to do it, because obviously it terrifies the crap out of me. And I don't want to be struggling at all. And I don't want to be in a position where I know I can't provide the absolute best for my kids. And I get it. As long as you love them, I've heard all of the stories. As long as you provide a loving home, it's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. For some people, they're okay with that. Other people, they're not okay with that. And not everyone feels that being a parent is right for them. That's not a bad thing. That doesn't make them bad people. And I'm not just saying that because I don't want kids and I don't have kids. I'm saying that because having kids isn't for everyone. And doing these pressure campaigns, which has really been a big part of Donald Trump's campaign, really bothers me. It really turns me off because it's getting into our personal lives in a way that I don't think is helpful. And it makes people feel like crap over very personal decisions that they make about their own lives. That doesn't hurt anyone else.
Yeah, really fast. So obviously, you're going to give more of the stats, and I think it absolutely sucks to have people who've been wealthy literally since the second they were born telling people who are already struggling that they should take on massive financial burdens without any consideration of the effects. I hate that part. I absolutely love my daughter. I'm having her is the best thing that I've ever done in my life. I don't disagree with that at all. I also think that whether this is intentional or not, like him just telling people who are already struggling, have kids, have a bunch of them, have them as early as possible, fits into, like, I don't know if there's a name for this thing that the right is doing, but there's a lot of facets to it, like the push to get kids to work earlier, the push to dismantle education, him telling, people not to go to college like he did. There's a lot of stuff that they seem to be doing where the intent seems to be getting people to constrain their options and their aspirations, and to put themselves in positions where they might be financially desperate their entire lives, maybe more willing to take jobs that don't pay as much, desperate to get any job they can. Like, I feel like there's a lot of people on the right who, in giving advice to people, seem to be implying that they should live very like compressed existences. And I noticed that more and more the last couple of years.
Well, whether that's the intention or not, that's certainly the outcome, especially when you couple the advice he's giving here with the other advice he gave, which is just don't bother going to college. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I also want to just note that studies show, and just based on anecdotal evidence that I've perceived, noticed in my personal life, after a couple has their child, it really, really like weighs heavy on their relationship. And a lot of relationships struggle in the, especially first year of a child being born. So like, it's not easy to begin with, even if you planned a pregnancy and wanted to have a child, but doing it while throwing like caution to the wind and not considering like your financial stability and all of that makes it even tougher. It makes it even more of a burden on your marriage and your relationship. So look, if you want to have kids, seriously, I love it. I support it. I think people should make the right decisions for themselves without this weird pressure that we're getting from a political election. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just 100%. So dumb, especially when we have so many problems in the country. We still have a housing crisis. We have a childcare crisis. People can't afford it. A Lending Tree study revealed that the cost of raising a small child jumped nearly 20% in just a 6-year time span in 2021. The last year available, average annual cost hit $21,681. That's a lot of money compared to $18,167 in 2016. On average, the Lending Tree analysis found families spend almost a fifth of their income on child-related expenses. But that's just the US average. There are some more findings from Smart Asset. They did an in-depth analysis this year per state. And for Pennsylvania, for instance, where Elon was speaking at this event, the range of childcare costs is between $24,064 to $27,170. That's the annual cost, okay? So that's how much it costs to raise a kid. But while Elon kind of just like shrugs it off as no big deal, can Gen Z, remember, that's the audience that he was speaking to. Can Gen Z really afford children? Well, Gen Z is one of the youngest generations. I think everyone pretty much knows that. In the workforce, and they're not really making a lot of money yet because they're relatively new to the workforce, right? So according to Go Banking Rates survey taken in 2023, the median salary for a person defined as being Gen Z, i.e. born between the late 1990s and the early 2010s, is approximately $35,050 a year. Oh my God, I'm so old. Like, it's so depressing.
Well, I'm older, so thanks.
Yeah, you are old.
Yeah, no, the numbers are rough. Yeah, I mean, you can save money in some ways, like free range kids are cheaper than using diapers. They can subsist mostly on Pop-Tarts for the first year or two, but
why are diapers so expensive? They're so expensive.
They're very expensive.
Sometimes when I get invited to baby showers and they, send the registry, not sometimes, actually 100% of the time, there are diapers on that registry. Because they're so expensive. How do you guys do it?
Not only are they objectively expensive, but there is a massive range in how expensive they are. And so if your family decides that you're going to go with the fancy ones, decides democratically, all of you had input on that, it can be even more expensive, let me tell you. And they seem very similar to the cheaper ones. I'm kidding. But anyway, yes, they are very expensive. A lot about having a kid is. We save money by not vaccinating because I don't want to put those nano machines in her. But just generally, there's still some costs that you can't avoid.
On top of this, he's urging people to not go to college. He says college is overrated. Now, look, there he is. That's what he posted. College is overrated.
Yeah. Do you think he thinks that it's overrated for himself, for his kids? Again, they say all of these things that the poors are supposed to believe that they would never advise their own children to do. They would not. Do you think he thinks it's overrated when he's hiring people for the million corporations that he's in charge of? You think he thinks it's overrated there?
That is a great point, John. I agree with you. I think it depends. It really does depend. I don't think college is overrated if a student is going into it with a game plan. So unfortunately, because of the cost of tuition and because a lot of students have to take out loans, something his kids don't have to worry about, something that he doesn't have to worry about. But normal kids, because of how expensive college is, even in state schools at this point, will have to take out loans. And so you have to think of it as an investment, and you have to think about whether or not your major is going to be something that will lead to gainful employment so you can pay off those loans. But on average, those with a college degree make way more money than individuals who don't have a college degree. Now, to his credit, he didn't attack trade schools, and I think trade schools are another fantastic option. But overall, generally speaking, the advice of just have kids and don't worry about it and college is overrated, kind of irresponsible arguments to and advice to provide to a young audience.